To stay in Brunswick. Since the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery, the city is having new conversations about race relations. Some of those talks center around a century-old statue of a Confederate soldier. Tonight, On Your Side's Troy Kless joins us with what could change about this statue.
You can see at one point that BLM was spray painted on this statue. It has since been cleaned up, and the statue is likely to stay here in Brunswick. But there may be additional markers, kind of like what you see right here, that'll be added around the statue. Shamika Sorrells and John Richards, both Brunswick natives. Richards says monuments like this represent an ideology harmful to African Americans.
In our country's history, that the stories of Native Americans, African Americans have been glossed over in terms of the pain and the hurt.
The committee voted 5-4 to add historical context around the statue, but Richards and Sorrells both voted no and say they wish that all options would have been presented to the full city commission instead. Sorrells shares her thoughts on what context may look like.
That is the context that folks should understand who erected the statue and what it meant to them, and the ideology that was associated with it.
In public Zoom meetings, some committee members expressed that they want the statue to stay, but Richards thinks that all options must be left on the table.
We were to serve in an advisory capacity and not an authoritative capacity.
Before a final decision is made, the public will have a chance to give their thoughts. In Brunswick, Troy Kless, First Coast News, On Your Side.
He chose the jury himself. I sat there. Every time we would say somebody, he would say no and then pick somebody else. He had already had these people picked. The people outside in the courtroom, because when you have a jury pick, you're sitting in a separate room. Outside in the courtroom, the people were gathered, over 200 people, waiting to be selected. As they were coming in, he would ask them, this is Ashley Royal, right? And we have the minutes of this here. Did you hear about the case? They would say yes. The whole purpose of pulling the jury is because they're not supposed to hear about the case, so they're not biased or prejudiced. They would say yes. Where did you hear about the case? I heard about the case from the Savannah newspaper. I heard about the case from the Brunswick newspaper. I heard about the case on the radio this morning. And did you hear about a guilty plea? Yes, I heard that the man pleaded guilty, so he must be guilty. He still put those people on the jury panel. After they came in and said they were discussing it inside the court before they came in. And this, out of the 40 or 50 people that he did bring in, everyone said not one person said they never heard nothing about the case, or never heard nothing about the Wampis, or never heard nothing about Malachi York, or what they called every single one of them admitted